So I just wanted to do a follow-up to the previous video on Rich from No Reviewing Tech in the USA, specifically with regards to the whole Dropbox underage bikini photo thing, because frankly it's amazing. I went back and I watched the actual live stream, and it's one of the most amazing things to ever happen on a live stream. I would say it should be remembered up there with Ethan Ralph's Pill streams and Mundane Matt's Boulder stream. So, to give a little bit of context, something to keep in mind of Rich from No Reviewing Tech in the USA is he is a marijuana addict. Not just smoking it, but he consumes a lot of edibles. If you ever see one of his streams, he'll go through like 4 to 6 THC drinks a stream. He just pounds them back constantly. I don't know how many he does in between, but the dude is stoned 24/7, so he's always paranoid and always confused. If you watch his streams, there's like prolonged periods of up to several minutes where he's so stoned he'll just stare off into space and you'll think that you've paused it. Now, Kino Casino, which is a drama show starring Andy Worski and Ashton, otherwise known as PPP, likes to go after Rich from No Review Tech in the USA and make fun of his various antics. And they were going to do another stream on him, and they had titled it Dickers Exposed, which is the nickname that they've given him. Now, the actual content of it isn't very important. It was something relatively minor. But Rich freaked out when he saw this. His mind immediately went to a Dropbox he had, and he's like, oh no, Worski and Ashton have figured out that this Dropbox exists. They've seen the contents inside it. They know all the stuff that I was hiding in there. And he just completely freaked out. So he decided to do damage control. So he went live at the same time Kino Casino was, and he just, like I said, started doing damage control. So the first things he said is, look, I'm not a pedophile. The stuff in there doesn't mean I'm a pedophile. I know that there's bikini pics. I know that there's selfies. I know that there's all this like tax information, and he was really freaked out that they were going to see his tax information. He's like, the stuff in there, it's not what you think it is. And he just started like paranoid yelling about it and saying how Andy Worski and Ashton hacked his account and stuff like that. And he just started ranting about that. And basically the whole thing was just one massive confession that came out of nowhere, because no one knew about this. His account hadn't been hacked. I don't even think like Worski and Ashton are competent enough to hack his account. Now, a side bit of speculation, one has to wonder if there was stuff other than selfies and bikini pics of underage children and shady tax documents in there, but we probably will never know. Anyways, as he was talking about how this thing exists, he decided, like I said, to do damage control, and he goes, look, the underage bikini photos in there are my stepchildren. They're the children of my ex-wife. And what happened is Dropbox was installed on their phones, and it uploaded all the pictures they took to my Dropbox. And until they turned their phones in, they've just been having these for like years or something like that. It includes bikini pics. It includes selfies. I don't know what else is in there. Who even knows? So that was his excuse. He's like, look, I just have this Dropbox that's full of like pictures of these underage girls from my ex-wife. They aren't even his kids. They're his ex-wife's kids. And he just said this like this was a normal thing to keep these pics around. So that whole thing is very sussy, very sketchy, and once again, you have to wonder what else was in that Dropbox. Now, as part of the damage control, when he was freaking out, he called a woman he alleged was his ex-wife. So this was at 10:30 p.m. So he called her and she was asleep, and she woke up, and then he's like, honey, ex-wife, the pictures are in the Dropbox because the Dropbox was linked to their phones, right? And she's like, yes, that's correct. He's like, thank you for confirming that. Go back to sleep. So who even knows? That alone is really weird. Like, was that even his ex-wife? Is that some woman he coached? Did he coach his ex-wife earlier in the day? Did he pay her off? I don't know. It's really weird. And the whole stream was really funny because for the first half of it, he just kept yelling about how they had hacked him, how it was illegal and stuff like that. And Ashton and Worski had no idea like what was even going on. And then he just started talking about the bikini pics and like how he's not a pedophile and how they're slandering him and stuff like that. It's really funny because they're just sitting there going like, what is he even talking about? What's even happening? So he decided to present his evidence that he was hacked. So he said when he looked at the Dropbox, he found all the pictures had recently been viewed, and he claimed that the IP address was from Canada. Now, how would he know that the pictures had been recently viewed unless he was actively looking at it? And he goes, yeah, it was viewed from Canada, and he didn't even know where it was in Canada. He said it was viewed from Saint something, and I'm like, Saint Catherine's, Saint John's, Sault Ste. Marie? What are you even talking about? And the fact that he couldn't even really explain where it was just Saint something, which parts of Canada are Catholic, so there's a lot of things that have Saint in their title, is also really suspect to me. Also, I have some idea where Ashton and Worski live, and I don't think there's any Saints, major cities near named Saint in that area, so I don't think it would even be from there. So because these were viewed from an IP address that was located in Canada, he took this as 100% evidence that Ashton and Worski were behind it. So like I said, he decided to fire up the stream. When he was starting it out, someone in his chat posted, "The house always wins," and he interpreted that as an open confession. Now, to indulge in a bit of speculation, it could have been, and this is what Ashton and Worski suggested, that Rich from No Review Tech in the USA was looking at the pictures himself and his VPN was on, and he wasn't aware that it was connected to a VPN in Canada. Because a lot of VPNs will automatically connect to whatever has the best latency. And I know when I used to live in southern Ontario, Rich lives in New York, it would often connect to New York or Chicago or something like that. So it often will automatically connect and you won't actually really know where it is. So he could have been looking at these pictures with his VPN set to Canada. Also, if Worski and Ashton were going to hack his account, wouldn't they have used a VPN to make it look like they were from the US or Europe or somewhere else in the world? I mean, if they're competent enough to hack it, then I think they'd be smart enough to use a VPN or something like that. The other piece of evidence is nothing from it was actually dropped anywhere. Like the bikini photos weren't dropped, the tax documents weren't dropped, whatever else was on there wasn't dropped. But as he was like ranting in his paranoid state, he started talking about how he had like a backup phone. Now they called it a burner phone. I don't know if he called it a burner phone, but he said, yeah, I have a second phone that I use just for two-factor authentication. And somehow that was like an excuse, that was an explanation for how he was hacked. He's like, look, I have this second phone that I only use for two-factor authentication. Now, people have said that he said he only used it for the particular Dropbox. I don't think that's the case. I think he just has a backup phone that, like he said, is only for two-factor authentication. Just he probably doesn't take that anywhere with him, so if he ever loses his main phone, he has a backup. That kind of makes sense to me, but it just seems really weird to like bring that up and start talking about it. And then he started talking about how he had a whole bunch of different phones because he used to review phones and they had different service on them. And I mean, Rich is broke, so like, how is he affording it? And if you're trying to like explain away why there's all these underage bikini pics on your shady Dropbox, talking about how you have a whole bunch of phones with different numbers probably isn't a good idea. And then the whole stream ended with more question than answers. Why did his mind immediately go to his Dropbox when somebody said it was exposed? Because normally if you think someone's going to expose something, you go to the absolute worst thing you can think of that they're going to cover. And given all the stuff that Rich from No Reviewing Tech in the USA has been involved with over the years, What was on the Dropbox that made it the worst thing that you could possibly think of? What was there? Why does he have a bunch of secondary backup phones? I mean, once again, they could be just like I said, as a backup phone. So if he loses his main phone, he can still get into all of his accounts. But the fact that he'd bring that up and he had a bunch of other ones, that's pretty weird. And was that actually his ex-wife? Was that some woman he paid? I have no idea. A lot of these things will probably remain a mystery, but it is a fascinating example of internet retardation. Because none of us knew about any of this stuff, and we never would have known about any of this stuff, but he decided to go on and just start talking about it. Like, if you're doing a stream unprompted, that, like, saying you're not a pedophile because you have underage pictures of girls, that's not a good place to be. That's not a good response. Also, and this is just the whole thing, if you think that you've been hacked by someone, maybe you shouldn't be chugging back THC drinks. Maybe that's the time you shouldn't be paranoid and have grossly impaired judgment. Just saying. If anything, that's the time like you want to be as sharp as possible. Like you wanna know what's going on. You have to take quick action. I've been hacked a couple times in the past. It is very unpleasant. You have to act quickly. You have to freeze everything. You have to check your bank account. You have to cancel all your cards. It's there's a lot of stuff involved with it. But the fact that he decided to like live stream and just get increasingly high on THC is also very sussy. So of course this is Rich, so he denies all this happened, even though like I watched the stream where all this happened. You can watch it up on the Kino Casino clip channel. But it's just fascinating. Because once again, he did this entirely to himself. No one would have even known about it. I don't know, is this a guilty conscience? Is this the last bit of his soul? Is his brain just so screwed up from all the weed that this is just where he goes off to? Like I said, we may never know the answer to any of these questions. But it is really suspect, and it is very fascinating that this was his response to it. So I'm going to give you guys a piece of advice, and it's going to be some Grandpa Argent advice. Life is hard enough without being high all the time. Life is hard enough without being a drug addict. So, as I've said with anything, be it alcohol or gambling or weed or whatever your poison is, if you're someone who can't control your vice, like if you're someone who can maybe have a glass of whiskey in the evening or go out on Friday or Saturday night and have a drink with your friends, and you're able to do that without becoming an alcoholic, that's fine. But if you're someone who tends very strongly towards alcoholism, you probably just shouldn't be doing drugs at all. And just kind of another side thing about Kino Casino, Worski, I believe, has been off everything for over half a year now. And you can really tell, like, he has an extremely addictive personality. He used to do weed, coke, alcohol, all kinds of stuff. And he was just, his brain was fried. He was low energy. He didn't know where he was. But now, like, the show has gotten way better. I stopped watching the show during the whole boxed wine arc. But it's way better now. So, like, if you're someone like him who can't handle doing things in moderation, you probably just shouldn't do it at all. And I guess the other example I have is with gambling. If you're someone who maybe you want to have some fun, you take a couple $100, you go to the casino, you don't care if you win or lose, and then you lose the money, or you make a bit of money, or you come away about even, and you can do that, then go ahead. Just have some fun. But if you're someone who's going to just start chasing your losses and bet your kid's college fund, you just shouldn't gamble at all. And I don't know, it's really sad. It's sad to see people's lives destroyed by weed. I know I'm getting a bit off topic here, but there was just so many people I knew in high school, a lot of friends of mine who destroyed their lives with weed because they just smoked it constantly. They were constantly confused. A lot of them were still slurred their words for like a decade afterwards. They were lazy. They didn't graduate. They didn't go anywhere in life. And if you're someone who can just occasionally have an edible or occasionally smoke a joint or something, that's one thing. But once again, if you're someone with an addictive personality, you should just stay away from that stuff. So anyways, that is the story of the Dropbox bikini photo stream. God bless everybody, and have a great day.